Looking to replace your wax seal? Well, in this video, we're going to show you how to do that coming up. Welcome to the Plumbing Gurus. My name is Carson, and on this channel, we strive to save you money and keep you informed on all proper plumbing practices. So don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Alright, so before we go ahead and pull this toilet and replace the wax seal, we're just going to give you a quick description and explanation of the wax seals we're going to use, or wax seals specifically, and a couple of tools you're going to need to do this job. So we prefer usually to try to use the wax seal with the horn. Sometimes in certain scenarios you'll need to use the wax seal without a horn. So the wax seal with the horn is going to be, usually the scenario would be the floor is flush, or the flange, sorry, is flush with the floor. So then you would definitely want to use the wax seal with the horn. If the flange is sitting above the floor, you're going to probably want to use the wax seal without a horn. And the reason for that is the one with the horn is going to push the toilet, it's going to sit a bit high, and it's going to push the toilet up, and most likely it's not going to sit tight to the ground, and you'll probably end up shimming it or something like that. So, and then also if the flange is below the floor, sometimes you can use both. A lot of people don't like to use two wax seals, so what they'll do is they'll get a flange extension kit, and what we'll do here is we're going to put a link in the description below for an extension kit, and then also these wax seals to pick them up if you don't already have them. Okay, so now that we've talked about the wax seals, we're going to get into the tools we're going to need to use this. You don't need a lot of tools, so that's why this job is pretty simple for most people to do. This one here is a pair of channel locks, or what we call them, well, they're just channel lock brand, but they're just adjustable pliers. They're going to be really good for just undoing the nuts and stuff like that. There are lots of different things you can use, but we try to just minimize the tools. And then we have a scraper tool, which is going to be for scraping the gross wax seal, all the poopy wax off the floor. Yum yum. Alright, so last but not least, we like to use a Milwaukee vacuum. Doesn't have to be a Milwaukee vacuum, but you want to make sure it's a wet dry vac, because you're going to be sucking the water out of the toilet. And the reason we like to do this is because there's going to be water left in the toilet, so when you pull it out, it spills out. And if some people will use a rag or a sponge and they'll just soak it up, and if you don't have a vacuum handy, that works, a sponge. Or if you're, some people actually dump it into a tub, they just take the toilet off and then put it into the tub and then replace the wax seal. But we prefer to use a vacuum that sucks out the water to make it easy. Let's get into this job. First thing we're going to want to do is shut the water off. So come on down and I'll show you how to do that. So in this scenario, we had a quarter turn shut off. And every scenario is going to be a little bit different. Some are going to be quarter turn, some are going to be just going to have to turn it all the way to the right. Actually, those are probably the two most common scenarios. So now that we got the water shut off, the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to take the lid off the tank here, and we're going to flush the toilet to get rid of as much water as we possibly can. Don't forget to hold the handle down so you get rid of as much water as possible. Alright, so now we've flushed the toilet, water's off, flush the toilet. We're going to use a vacuum to get rid of the water like we said, but just to make sure you know when you're using a wet dry vac, make sure you get rid of that filter in there, and just destroy your filter. We've already removed the filter. We've got a battery in our Milwaukee vacuum here. We're going to suck this toilet out. Alright, so now that we've done those steps, we're going to be disconnecting the supply line from the tank itself. It's the easier way to do it. You could take this off, but it's just a little bit harder. So we're going to take the supply line right from the tank itself. And while you're doing this, we're actually going to want to make sure we're holding up on the fill valve inside the tank, because it could sometimes twist and then you don't really want that moving around on you. So we're going to take this off. You might get a little bit of water. We did vacuum out most of it, but if you do get some water spillage on the floor, it's not going to be a ton, so just make sure you got a rag nearby to wipe it up. Alright, so the next thing we're going to want to do here is we want to take off this cap so that we can access the toilet bowls. Alright, so now we got that cap off, we're going to want to take this nut off the bolt. And it's just plastic, so you just loosen it off with the pliers, and then you can just use your fingers to take it off. Take this little washer guy off. I usually like to just put them off to the side so you don't lose them. Over in the corner. And you're going to want to do the same thing to the other side. Alright, so now we're going to pull this toilet off the floor. We've put a towel down on the floor. You want to have either, if you have tile, or if you want to be careful, because the toilet itself is porcelain, and if you set it down too heavy onto the tile floor, it could smash. So we're going to just want to be a little bit careful with that. So we're going to pull this toilet, just going to wiggle it, pop it off, drag it over here, set it down gently, and then we're going to put it down so we can pull that wax seal off the bottom. Alright, so now we got the toilet pulled off, we're going to need to clean, so the old wax stayed on the floor. Sometimes it stays on the toilet, so you'll either have to scrape it off the toilet or you're going to have to scrape it off the floor. This scenario, we're scraping it off the floor, so we're going to take our sweet little toilet scraper tool and get rid of that wax. Okay, so we've taken the wax off. Now's the time to, if you're going to replace your toilet bolts, if the old ones are kind of rugged and nasty and you don't really want to reuse them, you could just get a new set of plastic toilet bolts. You can also use the metal ones. We prefer the plastic ones so that you don't over tighten and break the toilet itself. So we're going to probably replace the toilet bolts. But also right now, the floor is kind of gross. The toilet's been there for about 10 years without being pulled. So we're going to want to just do a nice little clean of the floor. Probably try to impress my wife here. Okay, so now that we got the floor nice and clean, we're going to throw on our toilet bolts and our wax seal. So let's go down there. We're going to open up this bag of toilet bolts. We're just going to take the bolts out for now. We'll put the nuts off to the side. We're going to throw these onto the flange. So they just slide right in. Okay, so the next thing, we're going to want to toss on our wax seal, take it out of the bag. We've got a nice thick one with the horn. We're going to just slide it in there, right into the middle. Got some little excess there, we'll just slide off to the side. Don't want that causing any problems. So now, we got our wax seal, our toilet bolts are there. We're going to toss this toilet on. Alright, so now that everything is clean, wax seal's on, we got our toilet bolts on, we're going to pop this toilet on. So I'll show you kind of the technique I like to use. I like to just kind of straddle the toilet, grab it from both sides, and then just lift and plop it on. It can be a little bit tricky, but we'll show you how it's done. So now we're going to put the nuts back onto the bolts here. So the first thing that's going to go on is your washer. So the washer has a certain side up. Usually it'll say this side up. So we're going to slide that on, this side up. We're going to throw our nut onto the bolt. By throw, I mean spin. We're going to spin that with these long bolts. So take a while, give me a second. Okay. So what I like to do here is I like to go finger tight and then grab my pliers and then just tighten it. You don't want to go too tight, so we're going to want to kind of do the opposite thing, the same thing to the opposite side, and then we're just going to check the toilet to make sure it's tight. If it's not tight, then we'll go back and snug it up a little more. Now that we got the toilet nice and secure, we got the two nuts screwed down, we're going to make sure that the toilet isn't wobbling, so we're going to check that right now. So what I like to do is grab the inside, grab the outside, and just give it a good shake. If it's not rocking, you're good to go. But in this case, if the toilet was to be wobbling, if you can't get it to snug down and you're breaking bolts or something like that, you're going to probably need to shim the toilet because your floor might be at a level. So you're going to want to actually click or tap the screen right here and watch the video on how to shim a toilet before going to the next step. Okay, so now that we know the toilet is secured to the floor, we have these long bolts that are sticking out, so we're going to want to cut them with a little mini hacksaw. If you don't have the mini one, you could use just the blade off of a big one or whatever works. But we like to use the little mini hacksaw and just cut these nylon bolts down flush to the nut there. Blow away any excess, vacuum it up later, pop that cap on, and do it to the other side. Okay. Okay, toilet caps are back on. We're going to throw this water supply back on. Best way to do it is start, just kind of get it close, thread it backwards till it clicks, and start threading. Alright, we got the water supply on. We're going to turn the water back on. We're going to do it nice and slow, just in case there's some air in there. You don't want to spray it all over the place up above if your tank lid is off. And then as that's going, we're just going to want to go up here and make sure there's no water coming through. We'll do another water test later, but first thing you want to do is make sure there's no water coming out of there. And then we're going to go up there and flush it a bunch of times. Do a really good test. Alright, you have officially replaced your wax seal, but you're not quite finished yet. You're going to want to make sure you test for leaks. So we're going to flush the toilet, I don't know, maybe 3 to 10 times, whatever works for you. We like to do it as much as possible because it happens a lot where it doesn't necessarily leak right away. So you're going to want to do multiple flushes. So we're going to flush the toilet. We're going to do it a few times, then we're going to actually grab a rag, or your fingers, sorry, and go up and down around the water supply that we took on and off there, and just double check that you're making sure that there's no water coming out. So flush it, check for leaks, flush it, check for leaks, and then that is a thorough way to make sure you don't have any leaks, you're not coming back a day later and finding water on your floor. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Hope you guys got some value out of this. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button, hit the like button if you got some value out of this one. And if you are having still some issues with toilets, like say your toilet is constantly running, or it's still wobbling, click or tap the screen at the end of this video because we got some more videos about toilets just for you.